And today, we've come a step closer to making that America real. Today, too often, we confuse noise with substance. Too often, we confuse setbacks with defeat. Too often, we hand the biggest microphones to the critics and the cynics who delight in declaring failure, while those committed to making real progress do the hard work of governing. Making progress in this country as big and complicated as ours clearly is not easy.
Folks, Congress announced that there is more stimulus money currently available right now, and millions of people can currently claim up to $7,500 in extra financial aid this year. You're going to have to take some action very soon before this deadline expires. As high inflation saddles Americans with an extra financial burden, some states are actually helping out with one-time stimulus rebates to offset the pain of higher prices. The Labor Department reported earlier this month that the Consumer Price Index is making the fastest pace of inflation since November of 1981. The CPI is a broad measure of the price for everyday goods, including gas and groceries. Scorching hot inflation has created severe financial pressures on most U.S. households, which are forced to pay more everyday necessities like food, gas, and rent. Now, this burden is disproportionately borne by low-income Americans, whose already stretched paychecks are heavily impacted by price fluctuations. And also, the House of Representatives is finally passing a Democratic bill to combat climate change, extend healthcare coverage, and also raise taxes on corporations. Now, this passage of the Inflation Reduction Act represents a major victory for Democrats ahead of the midterm elections of an off and on again internal negotiation between both sides of the aisle. The legislation, which passed on the Senate floor via Kamala Harris, now goes to President Biden, and he already signed it into law. Nancy Pelosi told NBC News, "We've had a lot of achievements under President Biden, the rescue package and infrastructure bill, and chips and science. It's quite a collection, but it's remarkable, and this is a source of joy." President Biden also celebrated the win and wrote in Twitter post, "Today, the American people won finally, and the Democrats sided with the Republicans. Sided with the American people, and the Republicans sided with special interests. That's the choice we face, whether to protect the already powerful or have the courage to build a future where everybody has an even chance." Pelosi highlighted 4 key provisions in the bill: empowering Medicare to negotiate prescription prices, extending Affordable Care Act funding for 3 years, and enacting a series of energy and climate change provisions and reducing deficit. The legislation would raise about $700 billion to corporate tax increases and prescription savings. It would spend about $400 billion on clean energy and healthcare provisions. Chuck Schumer predicted that the Inflation Reduction Act will endure as one of the defining legislative feats of the 21st century. But the package falls far short of what most Democrats had wanted, which safety net items stripped out by Democrats Joe Manchin and Sinema. Moderate Democrats said it would cut costs on energy and healthcare, citing deficit savings to argue it would reduce inflation, and progressives called the largest package in U.S. history to combat climate change, which addresses the issue through a slew of benefits for EV vehicles and also clean energy products. Senator Markey and Bernie Sanders have also introduced a bill that will provide $2,000 a month to Americans that earn less than $120,000 for the duration of the crisis and for 3 months after the crisis ends. Under the legislation, married couples will get $4,000 a month, and parents and caregivers will be provided a $2,000 check per child, and Progressive Representative Ilhan Omar and more than 50 other House members have also urged the Biden administration to back such a new stimulus check, and according to a signed letter sent to Biden and Kamala Harris, lawmakers would like to send a $2,000 check to Americans throughout this time.
The bill I'm about to sign is not just about today, it's about tomorrow. It's about delivering progress and prosperity to American families. It's about showing the American and the American people that democracy still works in America, notwithstanding all the talk of its demise. Not just for the privileged few, but for all of us. You know, I swore an oath of office to you and to God to faithfully execute the duties of this sacred office. To me, the critical duty of the president is to defend what is best about America. And that's not hyperbole. Defend what's best about America, to pursue justice, to ensure fairness, to deliver results that create possibilities that all of us can live a life of consequence and prosperity in a nation that's safe and secure. That's the job. Fulfilling that pledge to you guides me every single hour of every single day in this job. No, presidents should be judged not only by our words, but by our deeds. Not by our rhetoric, but by our actions. Not by our promise, but by reality. And today is part of an extraordinary story that's being written by this administration and our brave allies in the Congress. This law that I'm about to sign finally delivers on a promise that Washington has made for decades to the American people. I got here as a 29-year-old kid. We were promising to make sure that Medicare would have the power to negotiate lower drug prices back then. Prescription drug prices. But guess what? We're giving Medicare the power to negotiate those prices now on some drugs. This means seniors are going to pay less for the prescription drugs, while we're changing circumstances for people in Medicare by putting a cap of a maximum of $2,000 a year on their prescription drug costs, no matter what the reason for those prescriptions are. That means if you're on Medicare, you'll never have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how many prescriptions you have, whether it's for cancer or any other disease. No more than $2,000 a year. And you all know it because a lot of it come from families that need this. This is a godsend. This is a godsend to many families, and so long overdue. The Inflation Reduction Act locks in place lower health care premiums for millions of families who get their coverage under the Affordable Care Act. Last year, a family of four saved on average $2,400 through the American Rescue Plan that I signed into law that the Congress voted in place. In the years ahead, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, 13 million people are going to continue to save an average of $800 a year on health insurance. The Inflation Reduction Act invests $369 billion to take the most aggressive action ever in confronting the climate crisis and strengthening our energy security. It's going to offer working families thousands of dollars in savings by providing them rebates to buy new and efficient appliances, weatherize their homes, get tax credit for purchasing heat pumps and rooftop solar, electric stoves, ovens, dryers. It gives consumers a tax credit to buy electric vehicles or fuel cell vehicles, new or used. And it gives them a tax credit of up to $7,500 if those vehicles were made in America. American auto companies, along with American labor, are committing their treasure and their talent, billions of dollars in investment to make electric vehicles and battery and electric charging stations all across America. Made in America. All of it made in America. This new law also provides tax credits that's going to create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs and clean energy manufacturing jobs, solar factories in the Midwest and the South, wind farms across the plains and off our shores.